Yeah, next up is interesting movie titled Frightmare from 1983. A somewhat unique plot in which this somewhat well-known horror movie actor dies, and these I guess really big fans of his decide to abduct his corpse because it's a sign of respect. You have someone you really like, to just take the corpse after they die. And they just take it back to the apartment house type thing, and they just party with the corpse, and then the corpse is pissed, because they abducted the corpse, and so he tries to get revenge with the help of some wife who is working with some mystic, and it's all fantastic stuff. This is a movie I really wish that I enjoyed more than I do. It's not a slasher, but it is an 80s horror movie, and I think we as horror fans, we tend to look at the 80s as one of the highlights of the horror genre. 80s is probably one of the best decades of horror movies. So whenever you run across an 80s horror movie that's a letdown, it sort of sticks with you. And I would definitely call this one a letdown. The biggest problem being that the story here wasn't that great. The plot was a bit of a mess, and the characters, the college kids, only one or two of them maybe stick out. Otherwise, I don't think there's a lot going for this movie.
Yeah, I think I've seen at least some of this movie before, but this is another first time watch for me, I guess, from start to finish. It did fail a lot in keeping my attention throughout. Just, is this considered a trauma movie? I saw the title cards at the start that appear at the beginning of most trauma movies, so...
Yeah, that's a good question. I know it was distributed by them, but I'm not sure if they actually... I'm not sure.
Because, I mean, if it is, it's a higher quality production than I'm used to seeing from them. At least I thought it looked higher quality. But, yeah, the movie is kind of... It's trying to be scary, but it's not scary enough. And it's kind of campy, but it's also not campy enough to enjoy on that level either. So, it's kind of stuck in the middle of those, and I can't really enjoy it enough on either level. I felt it was quite mediocre.
Out of interest, I did have one quick question for you. Is there any guy that you are a giant fan of whose corpse you would abduct once he died?
I don't think I'd abduct any corpse.
Yeah, I'm just checking because apparently it's a thing.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not something I really thought about. Yeah, I have no answer for that. I don't know where to go from here after a question like that.
Well, I will say there's two things about this movie. I'm not going to say that I necessarily liked, but I got some enjoyment out of it. There's a decent decapitation in this movie. It's not amazing, but it's a decent decapitation. And there's also a somewhat young Jeffrey Combs, who is probably most well known for From Beyond and Reanimated. I think this movie was filmed in 81, and it wasn't released until 83. So, but it's sort of interesting seeing Combs here, but again, his character doesn't really make much of an impression.
Yeah. I was kind of interested in the beginning where they break in, they're about to take his body, and I thought, okay, if they're gonna lock them into the, what do you call it, mausoleum?
Yeah, something.
If they're going to be kind of locked in and then have to find their way out, I don't know, maybe I would have enjoyed that a bit more.
Of course, by that point, there would have been a One Dark Night ripoff.
Yeah, well, I mean, One Dark Night wasn't that great to me, so I'd certainly welcome a movie that does a better job of that idea. Anyways, yeah, when they end up taking or abducting the body, I was kind of wondering exactly where is this movie going? Is this going to be like a Weekend at Bernie's type thing? Which might have been enjoyable if it did end up going that route, but it didn't. So, I don't know. The movie starts off sort of interesting, and then it trails off, and it just didn't keep my interest throughout.
Yeah, like I said, I feel like this movie, even the beginning wasn't great, but because we're not really even introduced to the main group of kids until like 15 minutes in. You just follow the actors, final days, I guess. But I don't know, there's not enough punch to this movie. The story is pretty weak, and I just can't get over it. I mean, it seemed like sometimes the kids who abducted the corpse, sometimes it seems like they really respected the guy and they're doing this as a way to celebrate his life, but other times they seem like really super disrespectful. And I just like, if they had stuck to one or the other, any type of consistency would have been nice here. But sometimes it's really decent. Sometimes it just didn't work for me, and it just bothered me. And the story, I get that the guy wants revenge for what's happening. And like I said, the decapitation's decent. This one individual gets set on fire, which, it was okay. But there's not really much, I guess this guy does get his tongue, not pulled up, but I guess pulled forward, which was, again, a scene that you might hope would be more fun than it was. But there's just not that many really memorable things in. And for an 80s horror movie, that's just really disappointing. I'm going to give this one a potentially generous 5.5, but because I really had problems with this, I'm going to lower it down to a 5 out of 10. I found this easily the most disappointing movie of the night, which is I'm just going to guess it's probably not an opinion that Chucky shares, but I was deeply disappointed by this one, and I've seen this once before and I didn't much like it then, so I'm just seeing it again sort of confirmed that for me. So it's not an 80s movie I'd recommend. Some might say it's even a Frightmare.
Bravo. It's definitely on par for worst movie of this show, but I still think King Cobra is probably a little worse. I'm gonna give it a 5. I was tossing up between 4 and 5, but I'll give it a 5, which is just a little bit of a higher score than King Cobra. Yeah, like I said, the movie, it starts off interesting. Not sure exactly where it's going to go, and as time goes by, I'm just less interested in it. It doesn't keep my attention. It gets stuck in the middle between trying to be scary, but it's also a little campy, and it never quite succeeds in either area. It's not, it's certainly not all that scary of a movie, and it's not silly enough to really be enjoyed on that level either. So, yeah, I thought it was quite mediocre.